On a remote island in the Indian Ocean, somewhere between Africa and Arabia, grows a tree that looks like it belongs on another planet. Its canopy spreads outward in a dense, inverted umbrella, hundreds of branches radiating from a single point atop a thick, pale trunk. From a distance, it resembles something between a mushroom and an exploded firework, frozen mid-blast. And if you cut into its bark, it bleeds. Not sap, not water. A thick, dark red resin that oozes out slowly and dries into hardened globules, the color of dried blood. This is the dragon blood tree, and it exists in exactly one place on Earth. That place is Socotra, a small Yemeni archipelago about 350 kilometers off the coast of the Yemeni mainland, sitting almost exactly between the Horn of Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. Geographically, it belongs to Yemen. Biologically, it belongs to nowhere else. Around 20 million years ago, Socotra split away from the ancient supercontinent Gondwana and drifted into isolation. Cut off from the mainland for millions of years, the island became an evolutionary laboratory. More than a third of its plant species evolved nowhere else on the planet, which is why scientists and travelers alike call Socotra the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean. And the most iconic resident of that laboratory is Dracaena cinnabari, the dragon blood tree. Its scientific name gives away how ancient the fascination with this tree really is. Dracaena comes from the Greek word for female dragon, and cinnabari refers to cinnabar, the same word the ancients used for its blood-red resin. Because this is not a new discovery. Socotra's dragon blood trees have been known to the outside world for over 2,000 years. Some accounts claim Alexander the Great sent an expedition specifically to secure the island's resin supply. The tree's story was recorded by ancient sailors in Greek shipping manuals, retold by Pliny the Elder in his Natural History, and referenced by Herodotus and later by Marco Polo. Before the year 60 AD, this deep red resin, once called cinnabar by traders, was already flowing along ancient trade routes to the Mediterranean, to India, and to China, where it was worth more than gold by weight. So what were people doing with the blood of a tree? Nearly everything. The Socotra people call the resin mzolo, and they used it as a cure-all, treating wounds, fevers, ulcers, and stomach ailments. Greeks, Romans, and Arab physicians used it to stop bleeding, to treat diarrhea, and to heal mouth and throat infections. Centuries later, 18th century Italian violin makers used it as a varnish, and it turns up remarkably in an 18th century toothpaste recipe. Alchemists used it in rituals. Painters used it as pigment. For a resin that looks unmistakably like blood, cultures across 3 continents treated it as something between medicine and magic. And that is where the tree's most famous legend comes from. According to a myth that traveled from India through Greek and Roman writers and into Arabic folklore, a dragon and an elephant once fought to the death on Socotran soil. In the Hindu version, the dragon represents the god Brahma, and the elephant represents Shiva. The dragon bites the elephant and drinks its blood, but as the elephant collapses, it crushes the dragon beneath its weight, and the blood of both creatures mixes together into the ground. Where that blood pooled, the first dragon blood tree is said to have grown, its red resin a permanent record of that ancient battle. 16th century European navigator Richard Eden repeated a version of this same story almost word for word, and by then it had already been circulating for more than 1,000 years. Even the ancient Greeks had their own variant, tying the tree to Ladon, the 100-headed serpent that guarded the golden apples in the Garden of the Hesperides. Different cultures, different gods, but the same core image. Violence, blood, and a tree that remembers it. That is the known. A living fossil isolated for 20 million years, wrapped in myth and traded across the ancient world as a medicinal treasure. But the real mystery facing the dragon blood tree today has nothing to do with dragons or elephants. It has to do with whether this species will still exist in a few generations. Here is the strange part. The dragon blood tree survived 20 million years of isolation. It survived arid heat, poor soil, and monsoons that barely reach its mountain plateaus. Its umbrella-shaped canopy evolved specifically to handle that environment, shading its own roots from the brutal sun while funneling fog and rainwater down toward the base of the trunk. This design does more than keep the tree alive. It captures moisture for the entire ecosystem around it, feeding smaller plants and animals that depend on the water the tree collects from the air. Remove the trees, and you do not just lose a strange-looking plant. You risk collapsing the water cycle for an entire mountain ecosystem. And yet, despite surviving millions of years of natural extremes, something happening right now, in the last decade, is killing these trees faster than at any point in their recorded history. In November of 2015, two cyclones named Chapala and Meg struck Socotra within a single week of each other. This had essentially never happened before. Tropical cyclones of this strength almost never form in this part of the Arabian Sea, let alone twice in 7 days. A United Nations meteorological official at the time called it an absolutely extraordinary event. The storms killed more than a dozen people, destroyed hundreds of homes, wiped out fishing fleets, and by some estimates toppled roughly 30% of the island's dragon blood trees. In the Marmoryn Plateau, home to the largest remaining dragon blood forest on Earth, centuries-old specimens, some estimated to be 500 years old or more, trees that had already weathered countless previous storms, were uprooted by the thousands in a matter of days. Then in 2018, another major cyclone hit, adding to the damage. This is where the mystery deepens. According to a 2017 study published in the journal Nature Climate Change, the frequency of severe cyclones across the Arabian Sea has increased dramatically over recent decades. Scientists point to a mix of factors: warming ocean temperatures, shifting El Niño patterns, and even changing air pollution levels altering regional storm formation. Whatever the precise mechanism, storms that used to be rare in this region are becoming common, and dragon blood trees, having evolved for millions of years without needing to withstand this level of wind, are simply not built for it. But the storms are only half of the problem, and in some ways, the quieter half is worse. Dragon blood trees do not reproduce quickly. A single tree may take decades to reach maturity, and Socotra's saplings face a threat their ancestors rarely had to deal with at this scale: grazing goats. As droughts on the island have grown more frequent and more severe, vegetation has become scarcer, and free-roaming goat herds increasingly target the tender young saplings before they have any chance to grow into their iconic umbrella shape. Add to this a decade of civil war on the Yemeni mainland, which has strained resources, limited outside scientific access, and made large-scale conservation dramatically harder to organize. And you have a species caught in a perfect storm of climate change, biological vulnerability, and human conflict. So here's the real question driving the mystery. This tree survived 20 million years of isolation, evolution, and ancient over-harvesting for its valuable resin. Why is it now facing what some researchers describe as a slow collapse within the span of a single human lifetime? There are competing theories about what happens next and about what, if anything, can still be done. The most alarming theory comes from botanists who have modeled the tree's natural regeneration rate against the current pace of storm damage and grazing loss. Their models suggest that without intervention, dragon blood forests across the island could vanish entirely within just a few decades, not centuries as once assumed. Every cyclone that topples mature trees removes a source of future seeds. Every herd of goats that strips a nursery of saplings removes the next generation before it can even begin. And the math, according to this theory, simply does not favor the tree's survival on its current trajectory. A more hopeful theory, however, points to what is happening on the ground right now. Local families across Socotra have begun building protective nurseries, literally fencing off patches of land with wood and wire to keep goats away from young saplings until they grow tall enough to survive on their own. One such nursery, run by a family whose matriarch has described losing a dragon blood tree as being like losing one of her own children, has helped raise hundreds of saplings past the danger zone. Organizations like the Socotra Dragon Blood Tree Association, founded by both French and Socotra conservationists, have expanded this model further, training local volunteers, building community nurseries in the Marmoryn, Dixam, and Home Hill regions, and working directly with residents whose own water access depends on these trees surviving. Advocates for this theory argue that unlike many endangered species, the dragon blood tree does not need genetic engineering or laboratory intervention to survive. It simply needs time, protection from goats during its vulnerable early years, and fewer catastrophic storms in a row. Give it that, and this ancient survivor may simply do what it has done for 20 million years, adapt and endure. A third, more cautious theory sits in between. Some conservation scientists argue that even successful local nurseries can only slow the decline, not reverse it, because the underlying driver, a warming climate intensifying Arabian Sea cyclones, is a global problem that no amount of local fencing can solve. Under this view, Socotra's dragon blood trees have become a kind of early warning signal, a visible, dramatic marker of how climate change is already reshaping ecosystems that evolution spent millions of years perfecting, whether or not humanity manages to save this particular species in time. What makes this story land so hard is the myth sitting underneath it. For 2,000 years, people told a story about a dragon and an elephant locked in mortal combat, their mixed blood giving rise to a tree that would outlast them both. It was a story about violence transformed into something permanent, something that could heal wounds, stop bleeding, be traded as treasure. Today on the same island, a different and much more literal battle is playing out, not between mythical creatures, but between an ancient, isolated species and a rapidly changing climate it was never built to withstand. Whether the dragon blood tree writes its next chapter as a story of survival, the way it has for 20 million years, or as a cautionary tale about what climate change can unravel in a single generation, is still being decided right now, tree by tree, storm by storm, on a windswept plateau above the Arabian Sea.